Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Revel channel. I am ready to revel about Real Housewives of Atlanta season 15 episodes 6 through 8. When it comes to episode 9 and 10, we all know 10 drops today. I am going to group those together, and by then I should have been caught up on everything because I still want to bring confessional looks type of videos. If you know me, you know I love fashion, so I have to sneak that in there a little bit. There was just the Stellar Awards, and I want to make sure I cover that as well. I take it back. I'm sorry, y'all. I want to cover the Stellar Awards red carpet so bad. I love to talk about red carpet looks, and I feel like this is the perfect time to show y'all how you can literally step out and still be a Christian. But listen, there's not enough looks. Whenever I do my red carpet looks, I have about a good 20 to 25. If there's more, I cover more and I group them together and different things like that, and then discuss that going off the top of my head and grouping them within the Van Gogh We Want Mo No Show category. But listen, if you watch my stuff, you know what I'm talking about. But there are not enough looks. You can barely find who the people are wearing. So I feel like I should really do research and figure out why we don't get the same amount of looks or coverage as you would get for like VMAs, BT, and different things like that. And just to show that, you know, I am back and I'm ready to keep going and doing what I love to do. And when it comes to episodes 6 and 8, these episodes were like a little drought, but still had a hint of a good little light at the end of the tunnel. So it lets us know about like episode 9 and 10. This is where it's going to pick up a little bit more, because in the beginning we were kind of like, okay, what's going on with this season? So I just want to touch on some prominent pieces and review a couple of storylines that I felt like stood out to me. But let's go ahead and get into it. So since I'm back, I want to make sure I do something a little different. I mean, it's Real Housewives of Atlanta, and we always talk about the main cast members, but before we can get to them, I feel like we should talk about a newcomer, a friend of Courtney. Courtney rubbed us the wrong way in the beginning, but I feel like she is learning how to really work her way through the group and not do too much so far. Because I mean, she did do too much in the beginning, but I feel like episodes 6 through 8 is where it's like, you know, she's tolerable. We also seen her at her event where she actually checked on both Marlo and Kandi because they did have that big blow up. And I feel like because that happened at her event, she played her cards right. We're going to see both of the women start to like film with her throughout the season, if that actually happens. Don't quote me on that. But before we can even talk about the blow up between Marlo and Kandi, we have to first talk about what happened right before. Marlo got into it with Drew. Marlo felt like Drew did not use the word, and because she didn't use that word, she feels like people kind of tippy-toe around different topics when it comes to Kandi, and I believe that's not true. People say whatever they want to say to Kandi. It is what it is. She also says she feels like Kandi never tells her full side of what's really going on in her life. I don't think that's true to that extent as well, because I feel like Kandi is the first to put her information on the street. So can't nobody say nothing. She already said it. And the women do come for her a lot. Now, I do agree with Marlo when she basically says, because it's not just the people on the cast. I think it's a lot of fans of the show. They make it seem like you can't come at Kandi because it's as if Kandi does no wrong. And Kandi definitely has her wrongs. But in this incident, when it comes to her nephew and what happened to him, which was very like terrible. I don't wish that on anybody. But with what happened with that, I don't think that was Kandi's problem. I still feel like Marlo basically tried to make an issue with that. And the way she came at Drew, that was a whole nother thing. That was flat out wrong. That was on Marlo. And I feel like Marlo should really take a new approach with her storyline, because that's not going to work. That's just turning people off to the show. But when it comes to Drew, the issue that they had, you know, we see Drew tell Kenya tells the rest of the women, and that's how they even get to the event of Courtney where there was the big blow up between Marlo and Kandi. Now, I will say, if you actually watch that episode, you will see where production shows different clips throughout the years, and we literally see Kandi say people give Marlo a hard time. And this is why I'm gonna have to say Kandi was wrong, because listen, a person's past is a person past. Past literally means they're not doing that anymore. Marlo is not slicing people's faces anymore. So I feel like to continue to use that is a low blow, because that's not even the space or headspace she's in at that moment. Now, yes, Marlo does say and do a lot of other things that has us like, why would you say that? Why would you do that? That's just flat out wrong. But in an instance of talking about her past of her slicing the girl, that leave that back in them other seasons when y'all talked about it. I feel like anybody who continues to bring that up knowing that she hasn't done that as of recently, that's like you not wanting anybody to bring up your past when you know you have changed. Our past is our past for a reason. It may help us to become what we are today and help us with changing who we are from that, but that's not who we are at that moment. Argument wise, listen, Drew could not get a word in. Drew could not get a word in, and I feel like, Marlo, you brought her over there to get a word in and explain her side. Let her talk. Now, where Drew was wrong, y'all, this throwing out the word of they're aggressive. Kandi was just as aggressive in that moment as Marlo, and Marlo didn't even have her hands out in a way where she was actually going to do something. So for Drew to basically say, oh, she's aggressive, you didn't see this, you didn't see she was doing this, she was about, like as if she was about to hit Kandi. And we see production ask Kandi if she felt threatened, and she was like, no, not at all. In that moment, Drew, we have to call you out on that. Y'all have to stop saying that type of stuff. I don't like when people do that. I do not like when they do that, because I'm sitting there looking at the screen as I'm watching it. I'm like, girl, her hands was on her hips the whole time. Now, was Marlo talking reckless? Yes, she was. But was them hands moving like she was about to do something? No, they were not. But like I said, I feel like Marlo should really switch it up and have a new approach this season. Like, I mean, she did have a scene where we got to learn about her dating and the new guy. I don't think it will really work with the new guy, because I feel like they're on two different paths. But I would love to see that type of stuff from Marlo versus the other stuff. And since we're still talking about Marlo and her going on that date, her response to learning that she wasn't at Drew's music video was terrible. It was very poor. I feel like, Marlo, why would you call there and bring that negative energy? And you didn't even really do everything that you were saying you were going to do when you were on the phone with Sonya right before you called her, and you waited till you hung up to say everything else. And the stuff that she said about Drew had me like, really? Y'all like to come for her looks and her body. Drew looks great. Leave her alone. But I will say, I did like how in that moment, Drew stood up for herself, as in, hey, I know this happened before, like what was that? Why is this? And I will say now, while Marlo did apologize, in that moment, that was one of those apologies like, I'ma just say it to get you off my back. So that's not a real apology. So I understood why Drew kept like drilling that type of issue. But since we're talking about Drew's music video, I think it was nice. She got out, she did something that she's been wanting to do for a long time. She was able to do that with her key components of her family unit there with her. I feel like that was a very life-changing moment for her. So the people with the petty comments like, oh, it's a low-budget Beyonce video, leave her alone. Everybody got to start somewhere. But I don't think nothing was wrong with it. That's like people coming from somebody else if they have a low-budget commercial or a low-budget this. You have to start somewhere before you work your way up. But since we're talking about Drew and her family unit, I'm literally waiting to see what broke the camel's back when it comes to her and her husband's relationship. Now, we did see so far between episodes 6 and 8 where it was basically Drew sitting down with a music producer or a music videographer. I'm not sure which one he was. I can't remember at this moment. Now, I will say at that meeting, the fact that he couldn't even recall what she really did was a red flag. It's like, sir, if you don't know her work, if you didn't do the research before you got there, are you really qualified for this position? Like, how are you going to help create a video that is essential to who she is, and you can't even tell us what she did beforehand, but the majority of the people watching this know her from the different movies? I mean, I can put them on the screen right now. These are some things that Drew has done, because people do like to come for her, but she actually has done stuff throughout Hollywood. But with him choosing the scenes and, well, help choosing the scenes and stuff for her music video, we learned that he felt the husband should not be in the video. And I think it was basically because of the body or something like that. say what you want about Ralph. He's a lot of things, but you could tell he works out. I think he still would have been perfect for that. Now, I have not watched the music video as of lately, but I did hear that he's not even in there anymore because of the divorce that they have going on. So, I mean, that's kind of ironic because eventually he's not in there anyway. And I do think that, along with other issues that they were already having, kind of contributed to everything else that was going on, because he was a little salty. He was like, you know, the production asked, hey, how do you feel about being left out? And I mean, if I could find a clip, I'll add it in here, but you can definitely tell that he felt some type of way. And we also know he felt some type of way when it came to her sister. Now, we learned about Drew's sister. Drew has been doing acting, singing, and all that since she was a child, and she basically let us know that her family has definitely pushed her to continue like going after her dreams. And her sister is like, I believe she said 15 to 20 years older than her. So she was actually like her manager or something like that. And the sister began to go through different things in her life to where she had to step back. And I do commend her for that, for knowing, okay, I got to focus on my health, my mind. Let me step back a bit. Now, we do know that her sister and Drew had issues. Well, not Drew. Her sister and the husband had issues because the sister is like any other sister that anybody else would have. If your sister know you're with somebody and that person is not for you, 9 times out of 10, either they're going to voice it or they're not going to say nothing. But whenever you ask them, they're going to give their input here and there. And that's what she did. And she basically called Ralph out on a lot of the things that he did. The sister seen everything that was wrong with Ralph as a husband before we even seen it on TV. That was the issue. That's what I was getting from everything. But to see the sister finally come to their home. Now, we did see Drew's first season. I believe this was what, season 14 was her first season? No. Season 13 was her first season, because in 14 we're here now at 15. Yeah, season 13 was her first season, and we did see them to like, they're basically moving. And since they moved, she has not visited them. And I was like, that has to be so sad. So when you're having holiday events and different things like that, and kids want to get together, the sister is not there, and she has missed out on a lot. So to finally see her sister show up and to be able to come there and then they have a good time and her be at the music video, I know that was a life-changing moment for Drew. And I feel like that's the type of things we want to see on TV. We want to see reconciliation. We want to see a good vibe. And I do want to point out though, Drew said she was a little upset because Ralph went to sleep. He said he was tired when it was time for the sister to get there. Maybe he really was tired. Maybe he wasn't. But let's be real. If somebody you don't care for come to your home, y'all think y'all really going to stay up to interact? No, you're going to try to avoid any type of miscommunication as possible. And since we're talking about reconciliation, I know this probably isn't reconciliation, but I feel like it is. We have Sheree trying to like bring the group back together because so far this season, everybody's at odds and it's divided. It's literally Kenya, Kandi, Drew, and then Sonya, Marlo, Sheree, and Courtney is kind of in between on everything. I told y'all that's like her approach right now. And we see different people basically say, hey, let's let bygones be bygones. But when it gets to the issue of Marlo and Kandi, well, Marlo versus Kandi, Kenya, and Drew, the women are sitting there looking like, what? Now, I will say, when they were sitting at that table, they could have definitely let Marlo talk. But I will say, if you're going to spew out things that are just lies and they know you're lying, you really think somebody's not going to say nothing? That's how the women felt, and they can see right through that. And Marlo storming off was like, you really didn't need to storm off. And she did basically try to say, oh, she didn't bring flowers, talking about Kandi, saying Kandi didn't bring flowers to the thing. But like Kandi said, that's something you could have been told me because you always had my number. You've been communicating with me. If that was an issue, you could have said that before season 15 start. I'm feeling like this is Potomac all over again, y'all. People bringing up stuff way later knowing it really wasn't. Yeah, we're going to leave that there because we're not about to like resurface that. And Marlo keeps going in, and then we see Sonya. Sonya is finally trying to step up and say what she wants to say when it comes to different things that's going on with different people. But I feel like in that moment, Sonya, that was the wrong time because you really don't tell Marlo anything. And Kandi blows up and she's like, but get them flowers. And all this other stuff. And it's like, Kandi, at that moment, I probably wouldn't have said that, like F her flowers and different things, like, because that's gonna, if it really was an issue, that would have caused something. But I think she said that because she know that Marlo's storyline right now is BS and you're trying to have an issue with me. And I understand her getting on Sonya, because Sonya does play the side a little bit. And in that moment, Sonya, sit that one out. Your friend was in the wrong. Like, you could have said, hey, because to say, are you hearing what Marlo's saying right now? Like, she clearly hears her and she knows it's BS. She's not trying to have confrontation with her just to have confrontation. They already did that and got that out the way. This is a real issue of what she's really saying, and nobody really calling Marlo out on it. And we know they didn't do that last season because we all remember how the reunion went. But at the end of the day, we literally see in the very next episode, after Sheree's brunch, you know, Keep It Gucci, that's where all the stuff I was just talking about happened at her Keep It Gucci event, or a little brunch or whatever. We literally see Sonya and Kandi have a sit down, and they were acting like they were going to go for a little walk. They really weren't going for a walk, because when I tell y'all Sheree stepped out. Speaking of the Gucci event, maybe we should do a review talking about the outfits from the Gucci event. I feel like I should definitely do that. Let me know if you want to see that, because I will do something like that if you want to. But, you know, Sheree stepped out. Kandi came like she was about to walk, like most people would if you saying that's what we're going for. But they have a sit down and they're talking about their issues as a friend. And Sheree's storyline, it seems like everybody got something with Kandi this season. Sheree's storyline is literally her issue with Kandi saying the stuff about She by Sheree. The same way she had an issue with Drew saying stuff about She by Sheree. But everything that everybody said, they didn't lie. And we see Kandi slip up and say She by Shein. And I was like, if that was said when we first was hearing She by Shein, that would have worked. And it probably was around that time. It's just the scenes came so late to where it was like, okay, we've heard She by Shein already. Like, I gotta say something else, you know, kind of like when I did the taglines review, you know, She by this, She by that, just know she not. Yeah, just go watch my review on that. I'll have that down in the description if you want to see that. But the women were going back and forth. Sheree and Kandi were basically having like a little back and forth just to realize their argument was stupid. The argument was very stupid, and they left off on good terms. Now, I don't remember Kenya's storyline so far. Yeah, because I just realized I really didn't say much about Kenya. Kenya's storyline so far is about her business venture. So I do want to see that come into fruition. So I feel like that's going to be really nice. Hair care products there. They're doing the hair there. I do want to see that play out this season. But other than that, and seeing her new guy, and we don't even see him often because she did say he's very busy. Kenya hasn't really given much in the storyline. Neither has Sonya. We've seen some, well, I won't say Sonya hasn't given anything, honestly. She has given like the stuff that's going on in her household, but some of that it's kind of like a back and forth of, Sonya, you knew this already. Your husband wants his home back for just y'all. He doesn't want everybody living there. And then the issues with the sister, and it's like she goes back and say, oh no, I agree with y'all. I think we need y'all here, just to get around her husband and say something different. But I feel like Kenya can bring a little more in her storyline, because I really, like, tell me, y'all, please correct me. I'm going off the top of my head and trying to remember what was said this season. For episode 6 and 8, I told you I'm taking a different approach. I'm literally going off the top of my head right now. No notes, nothing written out right now. But it's just me talking. So I don't remember much from Kenya's storyline right now, and it's not much coming from Sonya. And then I think the only ones who's really giving something is Marlo, even though we know it's BS. Kandi is giving a little bit because of the issues that's coming with Marlo. Drew is giving us her ventures, and then the issues with her and Marlo. Marlo is the center around all this wrong, like all the drama, and it's unnecessary drama, but I feel like something has to be going on, because without it, what is really going on? But I feel like if you're going to have issues, it has to be real. We don't want fake. I keep saying this all the time. I don't care for the fake stuff, especially if it's fake and it's noticeable and we know it's a lie, because it's like, hello, there's documentation on the stuff. Y'all didn't think that through before you try to come up with it. So we're going to see through episode 9 and 10 how everything is going to play out after that. I am going to drop those videos soon, because episode 10 drops tonight, so I'm going to group those together, and I may take the same approach of just talking off the dome and doing it this way versus talking about things and little places here and there in the episode that don't really mean much right now. So I'm probably going to take that approach. I am going to talk about the women confessional looks, and you know what, I might as well go ahead and talk about the women's Gucci, keep it Gucci event outfits as well. Yeah, so let me know what you think about Real Housewives of Atlanta season 15 so far, especially when we're talking about episodes 6 and 8. I will say, like I said earlier, I do think those were the filler episodes, but I think everything is going to pick up, especially because the women are going to go to Portugal. So I want to see how that plays out, and I will see y'all really soon.